we've had like my brother, I don't know if it was my girlfriend in the past, came over to grandma's house and she's like, "Oh no, I don't want any tortillas or any mole." I'm like, "What? No,
You don't say no to grandma.
Yeah,
you don't say no to abuela. You eat that. You eat everything. Yeah.
You just shut up and you eat."
Yeah. Episode 176, Convos in the Pedicab. We got my buddy Primal Swoldier. I think this is the first time I've ever seen you with a shirt on.
Rare occasion. Damn, 167?
176.
176.
No, 176 actually.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Since
Killing it.
September of 2020,
Wow.
it was crazy.
Trucking through them.
It's fun though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a life hack to learning.
Yeah.
Because instead of like, I mean, you should obviously read books and listen to people that are smarter than you, but like having the opportunity to talk to people that are way smarter than you and like a specific field that you want to learn more about, it's like the ultimate intelligence life hack. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Even if I've actually made $0 on this pod, like this podcast has actually been a money pit.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure.
But
it's worth it.
But the amount of knowledge that you get from doing the podcast, it's worth it in and of itself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they come into content creation and whenever they try to make things, they like do it because they think they want to blow up and they think it's like a way for them to just make a bunch of money and like sleep with pretty girls and have status and have all these other things. But what it really winds up becoming is just like a never-ending stream of knowledge.
Absolutely.
It just becomes learning, constant. It's just constant learning. So if you don't like enjoy just constantly learning, this content shit it's not for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's never a guarantee that you're gonna blow up. So you gotta do it for the right reasons. I think we were talking about that earlier.
We were. I feel like we're kind of I feel like in a way we're kind of kindred spirits a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think that like you approach fitness in the same way I approach trolling politicians.
Yeah. How so?
I think that like you love your craft.
Yeah.
Like you do it because you love working out. Like you're obviously very successful. You're very well established at this point. You know, 100,000 followers on Instagram. You're training pro athletes. You're traveling all around the country, if not the world.
Yeah.
For seminars, for workouts, for whatever it is, right?
Races and shit.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
In the fitness community, you're a big deal. But you would still be doing this if nobody knew who you were.
Yeah.
And I think you'd be just as happy doing this if nobody knew who you were.
I think I'd be happier if nobody knew who I was, honestly.
Why?
Just because I feel like we talked about earlier, like you want to do things for the right reasons, and sometimes the pressure of having so many eyes on you and people's opinion, it kind of gets you sometimes. Like you try not to give a shit and just like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this just because I really love doing it. But then sometimes, because your business is, relies on the views and the amount of customers that are seeing your shit. So then sometimes you're like, fuck, man, that piece of content didn't perform as well as the last time, or my fucking views are going down. I'm losing followers because of this new algorithm, or people just don't like my shit anymore. So you start feeling pressure to switch things up or try to do what other people are doing, but fuck, you're not happy doing what you like to do. So, yeah, it can be a little bit of a kind of not a distraction, like just steers you in the wrong direction sometimes when you start to worry about what the audience is thinking. And but ultimately, you can be happy if you really just stick to your guns and try new things. If you start getting a little stale and performing and doing the same shit all the time, then of course people are gonna get tired. So it's important to kind of gauge what the audience likes, but also staying true to what makes you happy. So it's a fine balance.
It's a very fine balance. What's helped me out a lot is I've had the same friends and like the same girlfriend since I started this.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest thing. And I have the same job. And so like I think in a way I'm obviously not nearly as established as you are, right? I'm getting a little bit more notoriety, more people knowing who I am.
Yeah, you're fucking blowing up, dude. You got so many funny videos.
Dude, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I
all over the news and shit. That's so cool.
And I drive a tricycle for a living.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that riding the tricycle actually like kind of helps put things in perspective because yes, I do like watch my feed constantly, and yeah, I do kind of get into this bad habit of like measuring my self-worth based on how many views or who commented on my video or whatever it is, or I'm blaming some external forces. Oh, it's the algorithm. They're trying to silence me. I'm being censored, all this other bullshit, right? But at the end of the day, like I never looked at it. Up until recently, I didn't look at this as a money making thing. I looked at this as like this just makes me happy, and I make my money riding the tricycle. And I'm a guy who rides a tricycle for a living, so no matter what happens, I get to just ride this tricycle and everything's okay.
Yeah.
It's a little different for you because this is actually your livelihood. This puts
Yep.
food on the table for you.
Yep.
This is like what pays your rent. This is what's gonna feed your kid, and this and only this is what does it.
Yeah.
What's
so that's
gonna
the
do
thing.
it.
That's the thing.
I have the luxury of this tricycle. Kind of, it's like a security blanket, like Charlie Brown. Remember like Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a security blanket, like Linus
Yeah, yeah.
blanket, like, and I have like this pedicab, and this tricycle has like this little security blanket for me that kind of makes it's been a blessing, because I think for making content, especially with what I'm doing, you got to really just not give a fuck at all.
Yeah.
You have to just not care, and I think because I have this job, it just helps me not care because I'm just like, it doesn't matter. I gotta give pedicab rides to you anyway. Like, well,
Yep.
yeah, cool. I'm in the national news. I made the news. I did whatever, right? At the end of the day, like the guy I'm giving a ride to Rainy Street doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why it's important for any content creator like myself. Like, during COVID, I kind of went all online and kind of relied on my online business that kind of took off during COVID. Everybody was doing at-home
Oh, yeah, you were
workouts.
killing it, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got kind of comfortable just not training in the gym anymore. I wasn't teaching classes. I wasn't training clients. And I was just all online. And once things opened back up, the online business kind of went down a little bit. And I was like, fuck, I started feeling like imposter syndrome because I wasn't in the gym anymore. And so at the same time that, I was all online, I also felt less capable. I thought I wasn't as good I wasn't an expert anymore because I wasn't in the field actually training clients in person. So that kind of took its toll, as well as, like you said, once the business started kind of going down a little bit, I was like, fuck, like I don't train in person anymore. And I've gotten comfortable just training all online. And I kind of got, a little scared about like, fuck, can I go back to the gym? And do I still have what it takes? And so I think it's been important for me to make sure that although I'm doing my online business, I continue to train people in person. So I've been back in the gym, training clients again, teaching classes. And not only does that provide that security blanket of like, oh, okay, I can still, even if fucking Instagram gets shut down tomorrow, I can still train people in person. I still have those skills. And it makes me feel confident as a coach. So it's like a win-win if I keep having multiple streams of income.
Yes, and also you started doing this job where you were training people in person.
Yeah.
And when you started becoming a trainer, never in your wildest dreams were you like, oh, I'm going to just be able to sit by my computer and like write down a program and work out by myself and just get paid to kind of not have to leave my house. Like that's a novelty. And no matter what happens, like you go to a health club, you're going to be one of those guys training 50 hours a week at a corporate health club. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like no matter what happens, like you always have that as a fallback plan. Like
exactly.
You'll always be making 6 figures a year.
Yep.
Training people.
Exactly. And then like also making sure you're continuing to diversify yourself and save money. Like a lot of people make money really fast, like me included. During COVID, I made a shitload of money within the first few that summer. Those first
was
couple
it from
months.
Online class or
yeah,
investments or what?
online classes.
No investments.
Actually, an investment came through. And I was able to make some good money, but then I got comfortable. I bought a house.
We got a house also.
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
I'm home. Yeah,
Congratulations.
Johnson City though. That's why I'm like never go to 10th Planet. I go all the way to Stoke and Big Spring. So
yeah, but now I'm realizing like fuck, man, like I have to really save money and think about some smarter investments because the online stuff's not gonna last forever, or maybe it could, but I don't want to do it forever. And I don't always want to be in the
I don't want to be a troll forever either, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to, like this is something that serves a purpose, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to be, a clown. Like eventually there's gonna come a time where like, I want to ultimately graduate to doing podcasts, right? I ultimately would like to graduate to making serious documentaries. Like I want to do. Like there are things that I want to be able to like evolve into. I want to speak on panels. I want to go travel. I want to go to conferences. I want to, I saw something on X, right? And we're not going to talk about politics, but there was something about, I don't know if it's, and I don't even know if it's real or not, but they said like Donald Trump is going to like let podcasters and independent media creators like have access to the press briefings in the White House.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's dope.
And I don't know if that's true or not, but one day that will be true with how our society's going. And why can't I be in the White House press room talking to Donald Trump?
Exactly.
Right? Why can't I talk to Joe Rogan? Why can't I go on Lex Friedman? Why can't why can't coming on Alex's tricycle be like a to-do thing for every celebrity, major or minor, when they come through Austin. Why can't that start happening going forward in the future? So I get what you're saying. Like, there's always like something new to always want to evolve into, and complacency kills everything.
Yeah. Okay, and you get bored. I mean, yeah.
You get bored and you get stale, and you like just become a shitty human. Then you get entitled. You don't get bored, you get entitled.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get comfortable, like I said. It's like I said, it's important to keep not just humbling yourself, but staying true to how you got to where you're at and being of service to other people. Outside of creating content, valuable content helps people. But when you actually get that one-on-one connection in person, it's a lot different from what you get across a screen or online. For me at least, it's very important to have that human touch.
Yeah, because like when people see you online, you're like this action figure.
Yeah.
Right? No, like you're like this action figure who never wears a shirt, that's always working out, always happy. Everything on your Instagram is very curated.
Yeah.
Right? And this is not an insult. It's just you're in the fitness industry. Your job is to get people to be healthy. Your job is to get people to be fit. Your job is to beautify human beings.
Yep.
And so you have to look a certain way. It's like you're not going to take skydiving lessons from someone who's never jumped out of a plane before.
Yeah.
You're not going to take boxing lessons from someone who's never fought.
Yeah.
You're not going to take public health advice from somebody who looks grossly unhealthy, which is what we've had to experience.
Somebody, yeah,
which is what we've had to experience for the past 4 years in numerous cities as well as nationally.
Wild times.
But what I'm saying though is that there's a human being behind the curated image that you're that you're doing, and there is a vulnerability and there is like a journey to get there, because I don't think that you were born with a six-pack.
No.
I don't think you were born like Mr. Popular. I don't think so.
Nah, man. I grew up.
How did this all come about? Is what I'm trying to say.
Growing up, I was a chubby kid.
Okay.
I'm Mexican, so I grew up in a Mexican family. So, and I was spoiled growing up. My mom bought me fucking McDonald's and Whataburger and fucking Jack in the Box all the time. I mean, she was busy, but she cooked. But for the most part, I was just always eating fast food and just eating really bad. I was, chubby up until I was 11 years old, and when my sister used to make fun of me, used to call me fat. And at the time it was like middle school, and everybody was getting their first kiss, first girlfriend, and I still hadn't had anything, and she made fun of me. She's like, "Oh,
me and you were the same, dude. I was a total weirdo when I was in school. Like I had a bunch of learning disabilities when I was a kid that I never and they manifested like when I was like 3 years old after I got all of my like immunizations and all this other stuff. And I had and they put me in like special classes, and I had to ride like little yellow. Yeah, I do all this stuff when I was a little kid. And I had a whole bunch of. I had a plethora, like a multitude of these insecurities that I had like as a child, and it's only recent. Like it's only probably the past like 10 years that I started like being happy and accepting and like coming to terms and not like embracing it. You know what I mean? Just being like, oh no, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with me. I was born with a skill. Like this is what I had was a unique skill set that just hadn't materialized.
Yep.
But anyway, I don't want to interrupt you and make this about me.
My sister would, she's like, you're never gonna have a girlfriend. You're so fat. And I was like, fuck, man, this sucks. And so I started running. I did football in 7th grade. So I finally started gaining some confidence. But ultimately, I realized I don't like football. It's just not my thing. And I was watching UFC at the time. My brother would rent like the old UFC VHS.
How much older is your brother than you?
9 years older.
Oh, he's a lot older.
Yeah,
wow, I thought y'all were okay.
No, yeah, he's older. But I've been hanging out with him since I was like 15.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
and I started training jiu-jitsu and boxing and kickboxing like in 8th grade. And that's when I really started gaining confidence, because I started getting beat up, for the first time. When I was 11 and 12, I got in really good shape, like bodybuilding shape. But ultimately, I still couldn't get a girlfriend. It wasn't, no matter how jacked I got, I still.
Yeah, it's not about that. And then you realize that. It's really not about that at all.
Yeah, you don't have any personality when you're just doing the gym stuff for aesthetics. And so I started training jiu-jitsu, and I remember I was getting beat up by everybody and the janitor, man, even by like some of the women in class where they're kicking my ass. And I was like, fuck, like being good at martial arts and actually being competitive doesn't depend on how jacked you are, and lifting weights just for looking good doesn't really make a difference when I'm actually trying to compete and actually be fucking tough, AKA tough, and like the guys that are in the UFC who I really looked up to. And I got humbled, and I finally realized, like, fuck, man, I'm not, to really be good at this stuff, you have to get beat up and realize that you're not hot
Like,
shit.
yeah, there's nothing special about you.
Yeah, exactly. And then you really start learning not to just like rely on your strength or fucking being really just like being athletic. You really have to learn technique.
There's a very liberating feeling to when you realize how like insignificant you are.
Yeah.
And when you go to a gym like this, you realize very quickly how insignificant you are. And then there comes a point where like once you've realized that, you realize that other people who haven't experienced this are even more insignificant than you. And so everything just winds up being fine. And like a lot of things that would phase other people just do not phase you.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't get phased anymore. I used to get I fought before, right? And
Yeah.
competed and did all this other stuff. And I used to get fucking terrified before these fights.
Yeah.
I'd be shitting bricks. And not like in the fight, right? But like 2 months leading up to the fight, I'd be working out constantly just out of pure fear.
Yeah.
Just pure fear and anxiety, just working out constantly. I'm like, oh man, I'm really nervous. I better go for a run. Oh, I better go get some sparring in. Like I'd just be nervous and I have to do it just so I can feel a little bit less nervous.
Yeah.
And you've just been feeling this nerves and this anxiety for 2 months straight. And the fight comes and the nervousness peaks in the dressing room, I think. Like leading up while you're waiting, especially with like boxing and stuff like that, because I did like Golden Gloves in New York City before everything.
Really? Wow.
And with boxing in New York, you don't know who you're fighting until they announce the fight. So you're sitting in this dressing room, and you could be fighting literally anybody in that dressing room, and you have no idea who the fuck you're going up against.
Wow.
And then you're seeing guys who are sitting there taking a nap in the training room like before the fight. And I'm just like, man, I really hope I don't fight that. I really hope I don't fight that guy.
Is so relaxed.
The guy that just is taking a nap before the fight. Like,
Yeah.
I really hope I do not.
Yeah, I remember before my one MMA fight. Oh no, it was my second fight. It was a kickboxing smoker.
Yeah, you fought my buddy.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
oh,
Drennan,
shit.
yeah.
I went for like a fucking 30-minute run outside the gym because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, dude, I got to do something that's comfortable to me, and I'm gonna just run where I usually run, around the neighborhood. So I fucking went for a run, kind of got the nerves off, and that made me feel a lot better. But like, yeah, like you said, you get super fucking nervous before a competition like that.
But then once the door closes and you're like, and they announce your name, like all of a sudden some weird thing happens where you get possessed by like some other entity, and you just don't care. You're like all of a sudden something just comes over you and you just become like this maniac. But what I think it also is that like because you've been so nervous for so long, you're just not nervous in the fight because you're just so used to feeling nervous that now you just feel the same.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like now you're just like, oh great, it's Tuesday. Like, oh, I have a bunch of anxiety and I'm super stressed and nervous and worried about a whole bunch of things. Well, I've been feeling this way for 2 months, so like, how is today any different than how I felt over the past 2 months? And then you realize that, and the door closes, everything works out.
Yeah.
And I would always get nervous before going to city council meetings. I'd get nervous before
sure. Fuck.
But before confronting politicians or doing whatever, I would get nervous as fuck.
Yeah.
Lately, less so.
Nice.
Right? But it's because you've done it so often.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't nervous at the DNC when I made that video, and with these other council videos or Pelosi, I was more nervous. Like, are we gonna find her? What if we did all this for nothing? That's what I'm more nervous about not making the video than I am about approaching.
Yeah.
I'm more nervous about not doing something than I am about like the idea of approaching a scary person.
Yeah.
On camera, but.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, but anyway, like I would have this anxiety all the time, right? And so like because you're always anxious and always nervous about wanting to make something new, it becomes a baseline, and then when it becomes a baseline, you're just calm. You just appear very calm under stress, not because you're calm, but because you're just so used to being stressed that it's just another day.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that. And also, like you said, the more that you do things, the less you feel that pressure. Just because, once you get your reps in, it just becomes another day. Like I'm sure you've experienced, but like Joe Rogan, like you see how comfortable these guys who are always in front of the camera, how it just becomes another day of, like you said, you're just there to learn. You're not so worried about trying to guide the conversation in any way or influence what the person is talking about. You're just kind of there to make sure that they feel comfortable and you guys have a authentic conversation. And that's the same way that I feel when I train clients. I don't want to throw everything in the kitchen sink at them to try to impress them with all my knowledge. I've noticed that doesn't work. Not only is it too much for them to handle, that they don't take anything away, but you don't get to really get them to really learn just even one thing.
You overwhelm the client and it
you
shuts them
overwhelm
off, and it actually does the opposite.
Exactly.
You have to ease people in. People understand, like, you got to ease people into whatever you want to do, and you got to figure out, like, where are they at, what's their level, what can you do? How can you find like whatever the smallest connection there is?
Yeah.
Just only focus on that one small connection and don't people, especially in the content world, everybody overwhelms everybody, and it's almost like a dick measuring contest to see like, oh, look how much more I know than you. Like, look how knowledgeable I am. Look how smart I am. Look how successful I am. Like, dude, stop bragging. You're here because you love making art. So just make your art.
Yeah, it's all about the minimum effective dose. You know, the keeping things simple is always going to be the best way to build people's foundation, and it also allows you to titrate the shit that you do know, so that you don't fucking give everything away right away, and then you feel like, okay, what else am I going to teach this person? And you might take a person from one level to the like really advanced level really fast, but you miss an opportunity to really show them some of the more simple techniques that they can get a lot of juice from. And you can always go back, but for me, it's been super valuable to take my time through the basics and get the most out of the fundamentals. And once, you know, I feel like, okay, let's sprinkle in some really fancy movements like a rotational snatch or an explosive push-up or some fancy movement where, they get excited, you know, you dangle a carrot in front of them, but they also find the value in like, oh man, doing the simple stuff has been what's gained me gotten the most gains. And when I do the fancy stuff, that's kind of like the cherry on top.
I think the goal for this type of stuff is to make people feel in their brain as though they are becoming closer to being like you.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it kind of boils down to. You know that I used to be a personal trainer like back in the day?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
You think so, really?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people that are, you know, in these type of roles where you're educating people through content, you know, I've done some type of coaching, whether it's, you know, bodybuilding, strength training. You know, a lot of the people that I've known that are doing all kinds of different things now used to be a personal trainer or a coach in some capacity. So now I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I was not good at it though.
No,
I don't think so. You know what? I think that if I wanted to be good at it, I could have been good at it.
Yeah.
Right. I think that when it came to something like personal training, I'm trying to figure out how to like phrase this, right? I think that in order to be a successful personal trainer, you have to genuinely love working out just for the sake of working out and nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's never really been me.
No.
Right? No. I mean,
I love martial arts.
Yeah. Like I work out not necessarily because I love to work out, but I work out for like a means to an end.
Yeah.
Right. So like when I was trying to fight, you're working out so you don't. Huh?
Said your cameraman's here.
I know.
Yeah, we're filming.
We're doing it. So anyway, what I was saying is, that's hilarious. Yeah. No, so like you know, like when you're getting ready for like a fight or competition, you're working out for a goal in mind, right?
Yep.
But then once the goal's over, you're like, okay, cool. Well, I just fought. Like I don't want to lift weights anymore. Like I'm just gonna go train and roll. You know. Yep. You can't have that attitude if you're gonna be a fitness trainer at a gym.
Yep.
You have to just love working out no matter what the cause is, right? And now, like, I've started working out again and started to try to get a lifting routine. But the reason is just so I can become better at trolling, right? Like, it's actually, like, it's funny, but it's the truth, right? Like, I think that, like, being Jack kind of adds to the effect of the character. Right? Like, it does. Like, it adds to the effect of the character. When I'm playing, like, this insane, like, libtard character screeching and crying and, like, you know, playing this, like, super cuck entity, right? Like, when I'm playing this person and I'm wearing and I have like a mask on and I'm wearing like a white dude's for Kamal, like whatever it is, and I'm like, and I have like arms like this, right? Like it makes it funny. It does make it funnier when when you're like playing this character to perfection, but you're just yoked, and then people are commenting like, yeah, dude, that guy's arms give it away. We knew he was when I saw his arms, we knew he was trolling. Like that is funny, right? So I think like there's an effect of that, and I also think that like doing certain workouts, like when you especially when you do compound lifts, you are producing more testosterone. Mm-hmm. And the more testosterone you produce, the more you're doing like cleans and snatches and even deadlifts and squats, the more it improves your neuromuscular adaptation, which allows the nervous system to send a response to the brain faster, so that your body and your brain can coordinate a response to a stimulus. And you actually need to be a fast thinker to do what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
To do podcasts, to be able to go into these situations, you have to be able to respond quickly to in like adverse
Yeah.
scenarios. And so lifting weights actually just helps with dealing with that type of adversity, right? So it's like, oh, I'm lifting weights to improve my craft. Whereas to be like a successful health club fitness trainer, you're just lifting weights because you love lifting weights.
Yeah.
You're working out because you love working out. You're spending 10, 12 hours a day at the gym because you don't want to do anything else. Like, you do not want to do anything else. And I realize that I just don't have that. Like, I'm not good at this job because I don't have, like, I've seen what people who are, like, super successful in that industry are like, right? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you got to love it. I mean,
yeah, that isn't me. Like, that's not me. And then I see you, and I'm like, no, they have to have your dedication to be able to do something like this and make a living. And a lot of people get into these roles, I think. I'm sorry if I'm, like, monopolizing this, but, like, I think a lot of people get into these roles where they expect to be instantly successful because they measure themselves according to people like you.
Yeah.
And then they don't understand that, like, but then they want to go on and have drinks at the bar, go to happy hour, or they want to go watch the reality TV shows all night, or they're like, oh, I'm hungry, I want to go eat my pizza. You know what I mean? And oh, my stomach hurts, so I'm not going to do this workout today. And then all of a sudden, it's like, then they're upset they're not nearly where you are. And I'm like, well, yeah, no shit. Like, look at, like, what is this person doing and what are you doing?
Yep.
And so I just see, like, what you're doing, like, I see your approach to fitness as, like, a model for how other people can be successful in every other venue of life. So I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you got to be committed. But you also don't have to be a robot, you know. I mean, maybe for certain stints where you really have to dedicate to really, like, make some huge leaps. But you can also have some fun, have a drink every now and then. Like, I still drink every now and then. Like, once a month, I go to a big family party. I'll have a pizza or a burger every
You
weekend.
can't be a fucking Nazi about your food.
Yeah,
and
then you really hate it.
And also, you know what it does? It actually makes you more unhealthy.
Yeah.
Because when you get so stressed over the minutia of what you consume, you develop these horrible responses to your body. You know more about this than me because you're a professional, right? Mm-hmm. So please extrapolate on this. You develop these, like, really bad physical responses to this, and when you get stressed, like, your metabolism slows down, your cortisol levels get higher. And so if you're like, oh man, I ate a pizza or a burger and I'm gonna beat myself because I ate a burger, well, like, you're gonna be even on, like, you beating yourself up over the fact that you ate that burger is way worse than the fact that you ate that burger.
Yeah, it can be very mentally draining, and also it can cause you to do things that are unhealthy. Like, you might starve yourself the next day instead of just jumping back on the train and getting back to work and just kind of getting back in your rhythm. People kind of throw themselves off even worse by being extra hard on themselves. They'll either starve themselves or they'll work out 3 times as hard or 10 times as hard to try to burn off the calories from that one little small thing that they ate that was bad.
And it's not even that bad. And people have the wrong idea about nutrition anyway. Like,
yeah, like, for me, I don't like to say calories are just calories. You know, like, nutrient density makes a difference. Like, if you're eating nutritious foods, and you can't just eat, you know, 2,500 calories of shitty food because you're not going to get the right nutrients from it. But you can get by on, you know, just making sure that you're hitting your calorie goals, hitting your macros, and you can eat fucking fast food as long as you're not kind of overdoing it on the doing too much fat or too many carbs and not getting enough protein. You know, if you hit your macros, in my opinion, and you get the right amount of calories, you can have a couple of bad days and still hit your goals.
And it doesn't really matter so much, and also sleep is a big deal.
Oh,
People underestimate sleep.
Huge.
Sleep is a big deal.
Yeah, I heard somewhere where you should get about an hour extra of sleep, more than 8 hours or more than 6 or 7 hours for every hour after exercise that you do. So I do maybe an hour, sometimes 90 minutes of exercise a day. I'll try to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep.
I usually get that. I have not set an alarm clock. Well, I have to now because I'm doing, like, a little morning show on X.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Like, I have for like the longest time since I moved here. I've not had to set an alarm clock for like a decade because of this job.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, more freedom.
More freedom. I mean, there's pressure, responsibility. You got to be very responsible how you manage your money, with what you do with your time, with your energy, and you have, like, this responsibility. Like, you get paid based on the energy you have, and so you have to be in a good mood, but you can't, like, pretend to be in a good mood. Being in a good mood isn't just about, like, smiling and pretending to be happy. It's about, like, doing things to your body that scientifically is designed to put you in a good mood. Like, you want to make money pedicabbing and be happy pedicabbing, you better lift, better do jujitsu. You want to be good at making these videos, better train. You want to, like, do well on this improv show, you better put yourself in social situations where you're constantly used to, like, having that flowing exchange of ideas with people. Like, you have to put yourself, like, if you don't seek adversity seeks you. I think that's a big thing that very few people are starting to understand that now. But I think a big reason why people got so fucked up from the pandemic is that they didn't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, they got comfortable and stopped seeking challenges. I think that's like one of the biggest issues with society today. It's like for a lot of men, especially who are, I mean, I'm sure women deal with this, but from my experience working with mostly with men,
it's a lot worse.
yeah, they have less outlet to express themselves. You know, I mean, like, we do martial arts, so we know that, man, the adversity in the gym, getting beat up, you know, humbles you, and it helps you understand that, like, man, the more that I challenge myself, the more I'm forced to get back up when I endure something hard, and I learn that gives me confidence in other parts of my life to where, like, fuck, man, like, I can get through any hard thing that comes my way, you know, as long as I get back up and keep trying. You know, I'm not it's a kind of cliched thing to say, but like, you're not a loser till you stop trying, you know. And so I feel like for men today, we don't have a lot of ways to kind of express ourselves outside of like the gym. You know, some people that do martial arts, you get a little bit more taste of like, oh, okay, trying more hard things. But for a lot of young men, we've kind of gotten addicted to, especially with social media, is looking good through bodybuilding, and kids start taking steroids at really young ages. Like, it's becoming super normal nowadays for kids to fuck up their hormones. Like, yeah, I'm sure, you know, with the way our food is today, a lot of kids have fucking shitty hormones and poor testosterone. But instead of finding healthy ways to eat better and improve that with better sleep and exercise, they take the easy way out because it's being super common to take.
They also don't know. They're also not taught this in school. Like, especially now in the education system, like, I'm a big believer, so I also tried to be a school teacher too when I was younger.
Oh,
like
wow.
When I first moved here, and that didn't work out, and that, like, that's a story, I guess, for another day.
Yeah.
But I was, you know, I subbed for a while in AISD, and I realized I wasn't going to teach like my first year in Austin after this Region 13 thing, but, you know, and then after that, I just took subbing, and I stopped taking it seriously. I kind of like approach it differently, and I'd be like, look, whenever I'll take the job whenever I wake up. I'm not going to lose any sleep over this. I'm not going to stress myself out. I'm going to just take whatever provides you with the least amount of stress, and I'll do it when I'm in the right mood to do it.
Yep.
You know, which is fine. And it helped me with training and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
man. The you know, there's one thing I learned, and it's this thing called modeling. And I think that, like, when you're in charge of like shaping young people's minds, right, and you're shaping like the future of America, like, you have to be, even if it's a subconscious and you're like 5 or 6 or 7 years old, there's still something in a kid's brain that like can see what success is and what they want to look up to and what they don't. And you have like some of the most like overweight, like mentally unhealthy, financially practically insolvent people teaching children in their most formative years. And even if they like can put on a good image and abide by the program and keep it together while they're teaching, little kids can pick up on things that we don't give them enough credit for. And I think it's like it does a really big disservice to like just society as a whole when you have like people that are grossly overweight or suffering from a bunch of mental illnesses or have like a bunch of like personal life problems, right? You know, or have substance abuse problems, or they're like $100,000 in debt. Like, I don't think it's good for society for those people to be teaching children.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. But like I was saying, like, yeah, like you said, we don't have really good role models to look up to. And the ones that we do look up to, like a lot of the fucking famous people, they're like full of shit, you know, and they're doing steroids. And shit that comes out, if kids get on internet forums on Reddit and they realize, oh, okay, if I take steroids and I can look like those guys and maybe I can be a fucking action hero and get girls. Like, it's all about, like, as you're growing up, the only factors of success that young men see is how many girls are getting laid, having sex for the first time, or how many girls can I conquer, and how many times going out and partying and doing drugs.
I had the same, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's, as you get into your 20s, you keep up those patterns, and ultimately you start trying to fill an empty void that doesn't really make you happy. You end up going out to these parties. When you're done trying to hook up with girls and you have no social skills, you end up staying at the after party forever and doing a bunch of drugs with your friends and talking about nothing for hours and waking up the next day hungover and continuing the same process over and over again. So for me, my goal now, as I'm maturing even more as a coach, is like, fuck, man, I don't just want to teach people to be stronger, focus on the numbers on the scale, and to look better. I want to teach them the more mental side of things. Like, hey, I'm doing this to get better at a goal besides just aesthetics and getting stronger. So for me, even for myself now, I'm starting to do more races and goals that are not just
You know that about trying to fight again?
No, I don't want to get punched in the head, dude.
I saw the one fight you had.
Yeah,
that was like what, the fight of the year or something like that?
It was fight of the year in Texas. It was brutal, but I would never want to do that again. I mean, I did that kickboxing smoker after, but that was a lot easier.
Did that change something?
Yeah.
What did that fight do to you?
I realized that, fuck, dude, I feel stupid and my jaw's clicking. I felt like I lost some brain cells for like 6 months. It took me like 6 months to recover and not feel so fucked up.
Really?
Yeah, and I realized that I didn't want to do that anymore. I realized I can still help people because growing up, I was a chubby kid, and watching my two of my family members passed away. My grandmother and my grandfather, they both died from diabetes.
Oh shit! Okay.
And it's really prevalent in the Hispanic community. I mean, in all communities, being overweight's a problem. But now I'm like, fuck, man, I've always wanted to make a difference, and I was looking up to those UFC fighters. Oh, I want to be a UFC fighter because the Latino culture really looks up to these boxers.
Yeah, it's a very macho culture.
Yeah,
it's a warrior culture. It's a warrior. Yeah, it's an Aztec warrior culture.
If I'm really gonna make a difference, it's gonna be by being in combat sports. But then I realized, like, man, like I don't really have to get beat up to make a difference. I can just be in shape, be strong, and show people that you can be healthy and not have to get beat up. And so
what I've realized through combat sports, because I had one MMA fight and a couple kickboxing smokers and some boxing fights, when I was younger. What I realized from doing these things is that I'm not a fighter. I realized that, and I'm like, okay, just because I did well, and just because I was lucky enough to do well at every fight that I've been in, and just because I was lucky enough to grow substantially as a human as a result of every fight that I've been in, doesn't mean that I'm a fighter. Because you go to the gym and you see real fighters.
Yeah.
And you're just like, dude, this guy is on a whole different level than me. And it started motivating me like crazy to want to level up and everything else. Like, I started making rap songs when I was getting ready to, when I was fighting. It sounds ridiculous, but the first couple rap songs that I made were when I was trying to do Golden Gloves in Austin in 2018. My mayor campaign, which you voted for me to be the mayor of Austin, okay?
Yeah.
When I tried to be the mayor of Austin, a lot of my campaign ideas came about while I was going through fight camps. So I used to get super creative when I was going through these types of adversarial experiences. Yeah. And I think a big reason why I got so creative is because there was something in my brain that told me that this is not what you're supposed to be doing. This is not what you're supposed to be doing.
I can see that.
And if I put this type of effort into I think that with fighters, if fighters put the types of effort that they put into fighting into making money or growing a business or creating art or doing anything that's not fighting, we'd be multiplanetary. I'm not even joking. We'd have civilizations on Mars right now, because I can't think of people that work harder at a craft and have that potential just being misallocated than fighters, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, those guys work so hard, training 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes multiple times a week. It takes a lot of effort. And and if you could, like you said, if you could put that type of effort into any other thing, it can make a huge difference in your life and other people's lives in the world, for sure.
Yeah. After I did Golden Gloves in New York City, I got a training job at this place called New York Health and Racket Club, 2012, right? And I was, dude, were you saying something?
No.
Okay. So I didn't move out of my mom's house until I was 27 years old. My mom and dad's house.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I lived at home with my parents until I was in my late 20s.
Damn.
Great. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And now I got a house. I'm a public figure. People rely on me for voting advice. People will people share my videos and I'm doing something semi-cultural significant. But I still see myself as just some weirdo that lived with mom and dad until he was 27 that rides a tricycle for a living. Even though you're this public figure that there are people looking up to you now. It's a weird thing to wrap your head around. And you understand too. You had all these you felt socially awkward as a kid, and all of a sudden now you're the Primal Swoldier. But did the awkwardness really go away, or did you just find something that you're really good at? And now because you found this thing that you're really good at, you're just well, no, I just got to keep doing what I'm really good at, because otherwise I'm just going to go back to being the same socially awkward weirdo that I feel like.
Absolutely.
So I'm just no, got to keep making videos. I don't know what else. I don't honestly know what else to do.
Yeah, I think the imposter syndrome and those social fears, they come back when you stop staying in the field and challenging yourself.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the more you deal with adversity, the more it prepares you to deal with the other chaos in your life.
All it does is make you want to deal with more adversity, and you just got to keep finding the next thing. even when I have podcasts, I'm just like, I feel bad that I haven't made another video since my city council meeting.
Yeah.
Like even right now, while we're doing this episode, I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? Why is there not a protest? What the fuck is going on? This is ridiculous.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, the more that you don't keep challenging yourself, the more that you start losing confidence because you're not, continuing to sharpen your razor. So
You have to sharpen the razor.
Keep getting your reps in. You can't get comfortable and rest on your laurels. You gotta keep challenging yourself and trying new things, especially as a coach. I continue to start seeking out education, keep training new types of clients to make sure that, hey, I always am leveling up. Not only does that make me more confident, but it's a good look to your clients. Yeah.
It's a good look. And also, you should be a positive influence on younger kids because, let's face facts. Look at who teaches our kids in public schools. If you were to go walk around like a middle school in Austin, right? Because that's when people start thinking about that type of stuff, middle school, high school. If you were to walk around most high schools or most middle schools in Austin, how many of the staff members would you actually have? Do you think you would actually have any real respect for or want to go out?
The weightlifting coach. No.
Yeah. The strength and conditioning coach. Maybe one football coach, maybe maybe there's one history teacher that's kind of cool and stuff. Maybe.
My art teacher was pretty dope.
The art, also those people are all cool because they figured out the little life hack where they're just like, no, I'm just gonna teach the special ed teachers. The special ed teachers are the best ones because they're just they know exactly what they're doing. They're that was my favorite class of teachers, special ed and those types of kids. Yeah. Right, or the ALC, because those people are just they know what's going on. They don't take their shit too seriously. They have other hobbies and other things that they're doing, and this is their little 9 to 5 that puts the food on the table. But most teachers that you run into are not people that you're oh man, I trust that guy. If you're 13 years old, right, and you're in middle school, how many of the teachers would you trust with getting health advice from?
I mean, thankfully I had a lot of great teachers, but there were a lot of teachers that you couldn't really trust, man. They were just kind of
weird,
like you said, weird.
Kind of weird.
But thankfully, I took a lot of the college level classes. Okay. So a lot of my teachers were kind of fucking really smart, and sure they might not have been in the best shape, but they fucking had common sense and they treated you like an adult.
Well, that's 100%. But I'm talking about for working out and for bodybuilding and for aesthetics.
Not many of them.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about for that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not a whole lot.
Or if you're hey man, I really want to start building generational wealth for myself or figure out how to earn passive income.
You don't learn shit.
Nobody in that environment is going to help you, and then you start YOLOing into fucking dog coins and ass tokens and trading on leverage and all types of really stupid things which people did as a result of COVID.
They're taking a bunch of loans and shit to get into fucking college.
Yeah. Fuck. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is that you need there's got to be some kind of transformational shift where you need some degree, you need to get, you need school and education to be more applicable to real life.
Yeah, I'm thankful for the internet.
The internet's the best thing.
Of course, there's so much information out there that's kind of hard to separate. The real shit from
bullshit from nonsense.
Yeah. So that's why podcasts are so huge, because you get to really see meaningful conversations of, especially if you have a good podcast host who really asks the right questions or lets the guests really openly talk about, what they know, and without in a 90-second or 60-second clip on the fucking news where they just fucking talk about bullshit or they just take things out of context. Open dialogue and honest conversations on podcasts are changing the world. As we saw recently with the election, we saw a huge shift in how people are voting, and they're not just listening to some of the bullshit that's on the news, and they're starting to think more for themselves and are finally getting to get real information instead of just the shit that's just created propaganda that's put in our faces to make us think a certain way. So I think the more that we get honest conversations and more podcasts get put out there, we get to really see multiple sides.
Yeah, more perspectives.
Yeah, more perspectives, and that's huge. And that's why it's important for you to continue to challenge yourself, travel the world, man. I don't traveling the world, getting to see all these different countries has made me appreciate how awesome being in America and being in Texas in a first world country. Might not be that way nowadays, but for the most part, still the best fucking country that I've ever been to. I always love going to these different countries, but it always makes me appreciate, fuck man, we really got it going on. Yeah. Not just for the convenience of things, but the fact that I feel like here in America, people are a lot more friendly. You know, like yeah.
Oh, I went to Europe. They're fucking assholes over there.
Yeah.
They're fucking assholes over there.
Mexico's also really dope. Everybody's super awesome.
I believe that. Yeah.
Obviously, you might because we're tourists. And
I want to go to El Salvador. I've heard El Salvador is
yeah?
looking. Yeah, I heard.
I don't have any inclination to want to go there. But.
No, it's like it's actually one of the safest cities. Their murder rate dropped by 95%.
True, Mexico's super dangerous, and I
Yeah.
still go there. But yeah, man. But you still get to see different perspectives when you travel. You appreciate different cultures too. You learn all types of different things. But ultimately, I realized like, fuck, man, Italy has amazing food. But fuck, dude, the food in France fucking sucks. I don't know what the fuck people are talking about. London has terrible food too.
Oh, London. You know why London has? Do you know why London has such bad food though?
But like Texas and coming to America, Mexican food, even like the Italian food in New York, to me,
It's good.
Is better than what I got in Italy. Maybe it's totally different things.
Wait, you think the Italian food in New York is better than Italy? What?
Yeah.
Are you crazy? What are you
I thought
talking
so.
about?
Maybe because I'm Americanized and I feel like I love greasier Americanized Italian food.
The Italian pizza, everything from all the Italian food in Italy is way better. But
Not to me, dude.
Bro, you're
to me,
crazy.
it tasted
You're insane.
tasted
That's
like a
fucking
piece
ridiculous.
of toast with
That's
a little bit of
ridiculous.
sauce on top.
Yo,
It
you're
tasted
fucking-
like a
dude.
fucking like an appetizer. When I eat an American
that's-
pizza, it's so hearty, delicious, cheesy, and greasy.
full of seed oils, full of chemicals, bro. Come on.
No, gotta go to a good spot.
Hey, so let me ask you a question since we're bringing it up since we got there. How do you like why are so many people so fucked up physically in this country compared to Europe?
I think it's also like you said, like we talked about earlier, like quality of the foods, you know, seed oils and shit like that, all the shitty ingredients that we have in our food today, the shit that we allow. It's, you know, when I had food in Europe, I ate, you know, not the best. I ate kind of, you know, off my diet type of shit. I ate a lot of bread, but I didn't feel less energized. Maybe because I was walking around a lot. You know, I still got some.
Oh yeah, because here is a
lot of
driving.
movement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here you're driving in your car all the time. New York City too is a
Yeah.
big walking city. Also.
Yeah, everything. There's
Like-
more fucking walking.
Yeah.
It's easier to get around. Cities are smaller, closer together. Here, everything's, especially in Texas. I think that's the big thing. I feel like when I go to like Los Angeles, San Diego, New York, especially New York, I'm fucking walking around everywhere, and I eat so bad, but I'm so active that I don't feel so heavy and bogged down or
Yeah.
like shit.
Here you're
in
just
Texas,
driving in your car
everything's
constantly,
so
yeah.
spread out.
Yeah.
I live in a fucking suburb where there's
Where do you live
nothing
at?
in Easton Park. So it's a brand,
Okay, yeah,
it's a
okay.
brand new neighborhood. There's like a CVS. There might be a McDonald's coming up.
Oh
But,
wow.
yeah, dude. The only place that I walk to is my brother's house, a couple blocks down. So when you're in a bigger city, like in Europe, you know, you
Oh,
have.
dude, we lived in the same complex for a minute.
Oh,
You remember
really?
that ethos? We lived at like at the.
Oh, yeah,
we
that's
lived-
right.
I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, I can't remember. Yeah, wow. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
No, yeah, but I think yeah, people are a lot more active in Europe, walking to more places. I hear that somewhere in fucking Switzerland, people swim home from work through some fucking river. They like bag their stuff inside like a plastic bag or some kind of bag. They throw it on their backs and they swim.
That's cool. That's cool. That is really cool.
So yeah, I think being active. I think nowadays with get 10,000 steps every day has really helped people.
No, but the fact that you have
maintain
to
a
count your steps
base-
is absurd.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like we're so inactive and we're so sedentary that we actually have to count our steps
Yeah.
is bonkers to me.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable, and also like kids don't play outside anymore. You know, we have this
Yeah.
like nanny state. There was some like lady in Georgia that is facing like a year in jail or something because her kid walked like a mile outside of her jurisdiction to go like run an errand or something like that, and she's like, and the stipulation was that she had to put a GPS tracking device in his phone, and she refused. But I'm like, this is like if this is the culture that we're starting to raise children in,
Yeah.
you know.
No.
Look, I think seed oils and bread dye 5 and all these chemicals are awful and should not. I don't see why they're in food, right?
Yeah.
And
I feel
you
like
could.
they're not so bad in small amounts.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
like you saw fucking RFK eating a McDonald's burger. He's getting
Yeah.
so much shit. But it's like, dude, it's all right. It's a fucking late night. You had a fucking amazing night with the boys. You're
Yeah,
on a
eat
private
McDonald's, who
jet.
cares? Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's probably what they're feeding him on somebody else's private jet.
You
You're
can't
not
be an
gonna
asshole and say no.
It's
Yeah.
like going over to your fucking grandma's house or your fucking friend's house and they offer you food. You're like, oh, I'm not gonna eat that. It has seed oils in it. No, you don't want to be a fucking dick.
You don't be an asshole, no, especially
Yeah.
that. I have like a kosher diet, so I won't eat like bacon or cheeseburgers.
Yeah,
So I'll just be like, oh no, thank you, I'm okay, or I'll just get the vegetables. But you know, but yes, you don't for that type of thing. I'm not eating
Yeah.
because it has seed oils or let me see the nutritional contest. You don't do that. That's just
We've had like my brother, I don't know if it was my girlfriend in the past, came over to grandma's house and she's like, oh no, I don't want any tortillas or any mole. I'm like, What? No,
You don't say no to grandma.
Yeah,
you don't say no to abuela. You eat that. You eat everything. Yeah.
You just shut up and you eat.
Yeah.
Nah, that relationship didn't last.
Yeah. And you say thank. Was it for
What do you mean?
It wasn't Francesco, was it?
No,
No,
I don't
okay.
remember who it was. It was somebody. It was like a short relationship.
Yeah. No shit. You can't do that. Like you don't act. You don't do
So
that.
disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. Like to somebody's house, you eat whatever they give you.
Yeah, exactly. I was like that for a long time though. I would not go to family parties or to grandma's house because I was so obsessed with being a certain way and sticking to my diet. And I avoided a lot of social situations. I missed out on a lot of great Mexican parties with my family because I didn't want to eat the food that was going to be at the party because I know I wasn't going to be able to eat healthy. Thank God I stopped thinking that way in the recent years. Started realizing that I don't need to stick.
What made you change all that? Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I think it came back to where I started really getting bad eating disorders. Like I got like a deal to go do a men's health DVD back in like 2018. I was a little bit overweight because I decided to try to bulk up, and I got really big and really fat.
I saw the video. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and then so I was like, fuck, I got this deal for this DVD in 2 months. I got to really lose a lot of weight really fast. And I was just like starving myself. And then I got to a certain point, so I would starve myself for so long that I would then binge eat and then fucking like purge or starve myself, throw up, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and it was fucking super unhealthy. And I used to do that when I was a young kid too. I remember I had that habit for a couple months before I went to college my freshman year because my family was losing the house at a foreclosure in like 2008. We started losing the house in 2010.
Was it because of the crisis?
We finally got foreclosed on, yeah. And so going into college summer before college, I had to move in with my cousins and sleep on their couch. And I was fucking taking the bus to school every day, the city bus. And I started getting really bad eating disorders because I couldn't make any friends going to UT. I was going to UT and there was a bunch of like kids I couldn't identify with. There was hardly anybody that was like my culture. It was a lot of like Asian kids, Indian kids.
There's a lot of Mexicans at UT.
I felt like I couldn't connect with any of those people because
Why not?
I don't know. I also just had poor social skills. I had like 2 friends in high school, and all I knew was going to the gym and hanging out with people in my brother's age. You know,
so it was like
who were a lot older than me, and so
okay.
I was used to like a different
type of group of people.
Yeah, and so I couldn't identify with going to parties and drinking alcohol. And so when I started,
to be fair, you didn't really miss much, but anyway,
yeah. Well, then I started smoking weed for the first time,
okay.
And then I started getting the munchies and eating really massive amounts of food, and then fucking purging because I wanted to not gain weight and still look good. And I did that for a couple months before I started feeling like terrible. I started losing a lot of muscle mass. I wasn't getting enough calories and protein in, and I just felt like a piece of shit. And finally, I realized I can't keep this lifestyle up. I have to start taking care of my body and really just focusing on eating for energy and getting the correct amount of nutrients in. And yeah, you're not beating myself up about how much, not overeating obviously, but also not worrying so much about eating a super strict diet and letting myself have a little bit of fun, just going to grandma's house and having that human connection, and over meals especially. You know, that's when I really got into cooking, learning how to fucking use a Traeger grill and cook some badass healthier food because it's homemade with healthy ingredients. And finally, I actually fell in love with being in the kitchen and eating good.
Also,
not just eating fucking grilled chicken on the fucking Foreman grill that was super dry. Fucking
it makes the stuff a chore, and then when you make that a chore, you lose you can't sustain that. You have to be happy. Happiness is the key to sustain positivity and productivity.
Absolutely.
And people need to understand that. Like and happiness takes work, right? And like human connection, even if like you drink a little alcohol, right? Okay, fine. Have a fancy cocktail then. Cool. Yeah. Even if you have to drink a little alcohol, even if you're eating like not the healthiest food, if you're around positive people and you're in a positive mind frame and you're getting something positive from this, your stress levels go down. If your stress levels go down, you sleep better. You're more relaxed. You'll get better workouts, and then you'll just be overall healthier anyway. There's people that live to be 110 years old that like still smoke cigarettes until the day they die, and it's not. Just
don't overdo it. Like I have a friend.
I mean, don't smoke cigarettes, but also there's something to be said about like your mentality and your mental health a lot more so than just physically being a robot.
Yep. Yeah, I have a friend. This guy, he's like one of the biggest biohackers, Ben Greenfield, who's super into the latest and greatest things to optimize your health and living to be 100 years old. And he drinks a glass of wine every day. He doesn't drink more than that, but he drinks. You know, he doesn't completely cut alcohol out. I don't know how healthy that is, but he seems to be in really great shape. Mentally, he seems very happy, and he has a little bit of alcohol every now and then. He's not doing crack, hard
Fentanyl. He's not
drugs.
smoking fentanyl.
Yeah, but fuck, man, you can have fun every now and then, and as long as you're not being too hard on yourself, because when you're super strict and you really cut things out of your life, you start getting to a point where you really start craving, going hard or binging or going on a fucking bender because you cut things out of your life so much, and it can create problems if you're too strict on yourself. So yeah, like you said, it's important to continue to sprinkle in some fun things here and there. It helps you stay mentally happy.
Yeah, and it also helps with weight loss anyway. When you're happy, you're less stressed. Your metabolism increases.
Cortisol levels.
Yeah,
are in check,
it's the
your
biggest,
hormones are balanced.
biggest thing and the most important thing in the world is to
reduce stress.
Reduce stress.
Yeah, when a client comes in, one of the first things I ask them is, like, what kind of stress are you dealing with in your life? How's your at-home life? Because I don't want to fucking put them through the ringer and put them through these hard-ass workouts if they're already stressed. Because the whole point about training is you're stressing your body to hopefully adapt to those stresses and go home, you recover, and you adapt to that. You get stronger, you get faster, and it's a healthy amount of stress, though. You're not you overdo it, you add that to the stress that you already have at home from not getting enough sleep, or, you're having kids at home that are stressing you out, or just work is stressing you out. If you add more stress that you're able to handle, it can just cause it can be detrimental to your gains. It can actually take you further down, from your goals. So I think it's important to manage stress and make sure that you're not overdoing it.
And you also have to have a realistic self-assessment of who you are.
Yep.
Right? Like, for me, for as long as I want to make these videos and do podcasts and do everything else that I'm doing and give pedicab rides and develop this character or develop this entity that I've been cultivating, I will never look like you. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm never, and I'm not saying, like, it's not like I'm not trying to, like, fish for comments or downplay myself, right? But there's only so many hours in the day, and in order to look like you and be as fit and as in shape as you, that's a whole lifestyle. That there's an insane amount of just pure dedication to look a certain way, to, like, look like you or your brother, or to be in that type of shape, or to look like the people, these, like, human specimens that work out on it all day, or to be like as good at jiu-jitsu as like someone like Kamoy Anderson or something, or fight like Andrew Craig, or be as much of a killer as like a Tim Kennedy. Like, that will never happen.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of hours, a lot of dedication.
Yeah, I will never get to that point because it'll take away from what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing, okay, these people are obviously a lot more badass than I am, right? But there is still a role, like in today's contemporary America, in like our movement towards freedom and liberty, like, there is a purpose for what I'm doing that actually helps facilitate that and fuel that, right? And so, like, if I abandon that purpose because I just want to be jacked, like, I'm doing something kind of negative. I'm doing like society or myself like a disservice. And I think, like, knowing what you want, knowing who you are, knowing like what your actual goals are, you fit workouts in that just allow you to kind of align with those goals while still being healthy and still growing. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say in this super long-winded, like,
I think it's important to identify your purpose and what your true purpose is. And for me, that's been hard to identify in the last few years. Finally nailed it down to, fuck, man, my purpose isn't to just be jacked and get people in the best aesthetic shape, because I've noticed that, fuck, man, I help people get in shape, feel confident. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I've gotten to a certain point to where I realize, like, fuck, man, these people start to crave more than just looking good. The really true intuitive thinkers, they learn for themselves that, okay, this just shows me that the more I commit to something, the more that I can be successful at it. Some people, though, they get to a point to where it becomes another unhealthy addiction. Where, fuck, if I don't work out, I feel like a piece of shit. Or if I miss one workout routine or I eat one bad thing, it's going to fucking fuck up my whole day. So I realized that it's important to have a goal in mind besides just being fit. I don't just go to the gym anymore to be better at fitness. I go to the gym now to be better, to feel healthier, but also I want to go learn to hunt for the first time. Get back in the gym and use my fitness to fucking roll around and be good at jiu-jitsu, or learn, be able to be healthier in my later years. And so when I'm a dad one day, I can be healthy and be able to have longevity, to be able to hang out with my kids and do active things and, be a better protector and provider, and not just look good to fucking try to get women or get girls and or fucking be the most jacked dude at the party. You know, you see that meme where there's that fucking dude in the corner who's be all quiet and everybody's dancing, having a good time. He's like, nobody in this room knows that I could kick everybody's ass. You know, you feel like hot shit to yourself, but in reality, you're missing out on the best things in life, which is actually using your fitness for things that other than just fitness.
Yeah. It's actually about strengthening your mind more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Like it's like, you know, for me working out, like, because aesthetically, I always kind of look the same. What I've noticed, right? Like when I'm working out a lot versus when I'm not working out, like my body, yeah, like this is my body. Yeah. Unless I get on like a cycle or just decide that all I want to do is dedicate my life to bodybuilding, I'm just gonna look like this. I'm just gonna be like a fit looking dude who has some muscle definition but is never going to be like overwhelmingly yoked, and I'm also never going to be like skinny fat, and I'm never going to be like overweight, and I'm never going to like look anorexic. I'm just going to look like a regular, normal, average mesomorphic dude, right? Like that's how it is. But when you're working, but like, you know, when you start working out consistently, like, okay, well, I'm going to get tired less. I'm going to be stronger.
You're going to get better sleep.
I'm going to get better sleep. I'm going to handle stress better. I'm going to be able to be more adaptable in social situations.
Yep.
I'm going to be smarter. My brain's going to be way more open to like learn and process more information to level up in life. And I think people got to understand that when it comes to working out, it's not about what you look like, because eventually you're going to just, this is what you look like and that's what it is. It's just about your mind. Like, it's about growing your mind. And when you work out from the standpoint of like wanting to grow and expand your mind, you're going to actually finally incorporate fitness as your lifestyle. And the problem and the reason why people fall off and plateau and, you know, get really fat and like lose sight of who they are and become like these grotesque, unrecognizable versions of themselves is because they just don't understand like why they're working out in the first place, and they just did it all for the wrong reasons. And when you do something for the wrong reasons, it will catch up to you eventually.
Yep. Yeah, you'll start feeling less motivated when you start. In the first couple years, you gain the most muscle. You get really great results really fast. And like you said, sometimes you plateau and you get a little discouraged. And if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you fucking start asking your coach, like, man, I don't feel like your workouts are working anymore. Should I start taking steroids? You know, I recommend my guys get checked, you know, if they're like 35 and above. And I feel like, man, they're not really all there. They're working hard. They got everything dialed in. All right, maybe you should go see the doctor, get your testosterone checked. Maybe it's time for you to hop on some additional help, but do it in a healthy way. You know, don't just fucking go take everything under the sun to get fucking jacked.
Yeah, you don't need to take TRT to regain your youth and like relive your high school football glory days.
Or like take a bunch of other fucking steroids that, you know, you stacking all these crazy things and taking everything under the sun where you really jack yourself up. You don't do it under the guidance of a doctor. You don't get regular blood work. You end up getting fucking heart disease or fucking high blood pressure, and you fucking have a heart attack. You fuck yourself up. So when I recommend some of my older clients go get checked out, I make sure they do it under the right guidance. And yeah, they can get some better results once they can, you know, maybe start taking some extra hormones and shit. But do it with a doctor's guidance to make sure you keep your health in check. Get all your markers in tune before you get that extra help. Because you can get to, like, I had my testosterone checked when I was like 27 years old because I was smoking a ton of weed and all kinds of shit. I'm not saying like that was the reason, but I felt like once I stopped smoking and I did my blood work, I checked out that, oh fuck, like my testosterone is low and my diet is all fucked up. I was only digesting 30% of my protein because I was getting most of my protein from protein shakes. I wasn't eating real food as much as I should have. I wasn't mixing up my protein sources. I was only eating fucking chicken all day. And my doctor was like, hey, you need to really mix it up. You're low in all these vitamins from doing your blood work. We saw that you really could do a better job of maybe taking these vitamins, taking DHEA to try to boost up your testosterone, naturally get better sleep. And once I did those things, I was able to almost double my testosterone without having to get on peptides or testosterone. But yeah, it's always about, you know, making sure you take all the right steps before you really go to that next level. Because once you get on those steroids and those hormones and those peptides, sometimes it's kind of hard to get off of them. There's a way to do it, you know, if you do it short term, and then you can hop off, you know, by cycling off and taking some other shit. But once you get on it, for a lot of people, you kind of just have to keep taking it for the rest of your life. You know, I might be off. I might have fucking like some off knowledge from, like, might not be the most up to date shit. From my experience, that's what I've seen, and I feel like if you're gonna do those things, do it under the right guidance. And yeah, man, you do what you got to do, but make sure.
I mean, I really don't think you should do that stuff at all unless you're like trying to be a professional athlete with millions of dollars on the line.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you're like doing jiu-jitsu competitions where you have $1 million prizes.
Yeah.
Then sure, go do that. But if you're not,
I just know a lot of guys.
Yeah, if you're not doing something with millions or six figures bonuses on the line, there's no need to do that stuff. Is my opinion.
Yeah.
Like for me, there's no reason whatsoever for me to do a cycle.
Yeah. True. Yeah, I've been good with just eating healthier and getting better sleep, continuing to dial in my stress levels. I've been able to get a lot of great results, and I haven't gone back on my levels. Every now and then I might start partying again, and in the summertime I might be a little bit more loose and kind of get off the train a little bit. But for the most part, as long as I stay dialed in with my stress levels, get enough sleep, get my diet in check, have a good routine of training, not overwhelming myself, I'm able to stay pretty at the top of my game.
People think that being fit and being healthy is this really difficult, really hard, insurmountable task. And I think the reason is because they look at people like you as like this barometer for what it means to be healthy, and then they set these unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, but what they need to understand is I've been doing this for
forever.
fucking 15 years.
And this is your life, and this is your craft. It's
people think they can get to this level wherever I'm at, wherever these more experienced people are at in 3-4 years.
It doesn't work that way, no. Or people are like, well, how come I can't go viral right away? And I'm like, you only made 5 videos. What do you mean? Like, go make videos for 8 years and make videos because you just genuinely love making videos. I started blowing up. And then we could talk about it, right?
Yeah. For me, I really grew. It might not work the same anymore with the way the algorithm works, but when it was like chronological, things were posted in a timeline order. When I was fucking posting 3 or 4 times a day to constantly, pump out content.
I never do that shit.
Yeah, I don't think that works anymore.
And it shouldn't work because you should actually live life. And you actually should be living life because who's going to want to roll? Who's going to want to look up to somebody that just sits on the internet all day? Like, you want to look.
True. Yeah, it becomes a very miserable existence.
Yeah, and then
when
that
all
misery
you
starts radiating,
do,
and then nobody wants to listen to you because you're a miserable fuck just like everybody else.
You're just being a fucking fake, pretending to be happy.
Yeah.
It's hard to be a fake. But not gonna lie, I'm a pretty good actor, and I feel like one day I can be in a fucking movie for being able to maintain a smile throughout all the hard shit that I've been to. But ultimately, those hard experiences have made me who I am today, and I don't really have to fake it anymore. And I keep it real. If I'm not having a great day, I'm still respectful and nice to people, but I let people know, hey man, I kind of feel like shit today. Let's have a good session, but and then we end up just talking and being real with each other.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey man, me too. I've been going through some shit too. And we end up becomes like a therapy session for the both of us. And so that's why I really love that one-on-one in-person training, because I'm not saying you should fucking be a therapist or, be 100% boo-hoo and honest with your clients all the time, because sometimes you just need to get the work done. You need to make sure they're getting
No, and
results.
also that's not what they're paying you for. Like, they're paying you to like, because they're looking at you for answers, and all of a sudden, like, if you expose too much vulnerability for them, like, that's not who you you expose vulnerability for people that are like special in your lives, right?
Yeah.
Most people should not get that exposure, because especially if they're looking up to you, they want to be vulnerable. Part of being somebody who's somebody means that people start looking to you for guidance, which means that it's also okay to put that vulnerability in check for the sake of helping another human, but as long as you have somebody that you can be vulnerable to when you go home. And that's why you got to nurture, that's why if you have a close relationship, you have a girlfriend for years and years on end, you don't break up with her because all of a sudden you're famous now. You know what I mean? Like, you stay with that person that's been with you forever. And as long as you stay with the same friends, as long as you have the same relationships, as long as you don't lose sight of your family, as long as you don't get this monster ego because a few million people happen to like this one video you made off of pure luck, maybe, right? Or through the grace of God. It's only because God thinks that you can handle this. That's why it's happening. So as long as you actually make the right attributions, it's you'll always be able to be vulnerable. You just won't, because you'll the key to being vulnerable is being fine, having the right people around you to be vulnerable with, versus just being vulnerable to everybody. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, I've run into that problem in my life multiple times, where you're just fucking telling everybody everything. And then people lose respect for you. Yeah. Yeah, they're like, man.
Or they just try to take advantage of you because they can see. Yeah.
And the more that I pick and choose and only have those people that I really confide in, it has made my life a lot easier. I used to be an open book to everybody, and it kind of bit me in the ass multiple times. People would gossip about me behind my back, and guys who I thought were my friends were using that information against me by, like, there might be a girl that they liked and I wasn't even remotely interested in, but when they were starting to try to be their friend, they would talk about me and compliment me. And then so my friend would then talk shit, say things behind my back that I confided in them with, and just to make themselves look better, make me look bad. And it would circulate these rumors, and fucking people would talk shit about me. Nowadays, I realize I can't trust every fucking guy. And some of my older friends and mentors like, yeah, dude, you cannot be telling everybody your business.
Well, that's a good thing about that. That's the great thing about it. That's the great thing.
And I'm like, fuck, but I trust everybody.
Well, no, but that's what's so good about sports. That's what's so good about sports, and that's what's so good about MMA and combat sports particularly, because through doing these adverse things, you develop this brotherhood that you would not have with any other human being.
You can really trust
people and then you all of a sudden find that network of people that you can confide that stuff in when necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it winds up and then you don't have to actually worry about that. So I think the key to like managing vulnerability, just do a combat sport, take a fight, 2 fights, 3 fights. Even if you'll never be a fighter, most people won't be. Just do it, get that experience, and life just winds up falling into place.
Yeah, I feel like that's the most important thing. If I had one piece of advice that I would give young men nowadays, is like, get into rooms where you challenge yourself, you beat each other up, you do hard shit together, because then you really see who you can trust. Because for me, I trust people who can deal with hard shit, that can get their asses beat, and we can get beat up together, and we fucking can trust each other in that way. Like for me,
yeah,
I really
then we're eating lunch together after we all got our asses, and then we're all having lunch together, making jokes. I remember like dressing in my MMA fight. We had people. We were making like I was nervous as fuck when I had my fight, right? But like, people were playing checkers and chess like in the back room. We were cracking jokes also, and like there's something really cool about that.
Yeah, you build camaraderie. Yeah. You trust people who can deal with adversity, and you can't, like, for me, like one way that we initiated people into working out on it. I don't know if I should talk about this, but
Vanessa just
the company sold, and we don't have the same leaders anymore.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that real quick.
Yeah,
but, okay.
It was great because like we would hire these new people and to initiate them and to make sure that they could hang. We would take them out and party and fucking drink and fucking see what they are like once their guard is down, and that's how you would know, okay, we can trust this person because they can fucking get fucked up and still hang and not lose control. And so that's how we would test.
Interesting. People do that to politicians too.
Yeah.
No, like for real. Like you can get some politician that says all the right like rhetorical things that makes you happy. All right, cool. Like let me pay like my friend who's a stripper. Do you know what I mean? That I don't know. Like I don't know. Like we obviously don't go to the strip club, but I'd be like, hey, I want you to meet us at this bar, and I want you to like be really friendly with this guy who's married, and I want to see how he reacts to it. And based on that guy's reaction, you determine whether he's a real person or not, whether he can actually handle the pressure of being in public. Yeah,
exactly. And yeah, so for me, the way I test out relationships or with friends, it's not. I mean, I'm not doing it on purpose, but just like subconsciously, I always invite guys to go do a hard workout, and afterwards, you get to see like, oh man, this person can hang and they can really do hard shit. I can trust them with maybe being more vulnerable with them and talking about open shit. But you cannot trust somebody who fucking gives up halfway through. Fuck that. Like I gotta make sure you at least get through. You might not do do the fucking greatest job and excel, but as long as you finish, you're a lot more trustworthy.
I feel as though my cameraman has become one of my best friends. I haven't told him this, but I really do. I feel like, and my cameraman, he filmed me at the DNC, he filmed my my latest city council video. He went and he did all this, and like, yeah, I'm paying for him to do all this stuff, but I'm also paying him a lot less than I would normally. Yeah. I'm paying him a lot less than he deserves. He deserves a lot more, and the more established I get, the more money I'm gonna give. I'm gonna give him I'm gonna give him a big bonus when this is over. Right? Yeah.
And those people that stick with you from the beginning, dude, you throw all the hard shit.
That guy, if I tried to do a workout with him, I don't think that guy would not be able to handle I don't think that guy would be able to handle a conditioning session that I would be doing for myself. And I wouldn't look at him as like any less of a man that I couldn't trust or whatnot because of that, because he does a different, like, he's proven his worth in a different type of scenario.
Yeah.
Right? Like holding that camera when I'm going to the DNC. Right, holding that camera while I'm talking to Nancy Pelosi. No, dude, you've already proven it. You've proven plenty, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
You ain't scared.
Yeah, you've proven plenty.
Fuck yeah.
You're actually somebody that I think it has more balls than I do in a lot of ways by how you can handle yourself. Because like, I'm like trained, right? Like I know jujitsu. I can like handle myself in a fist fight. Like that guy's not nearly as trained as me, and he's willing to put himself in that situation, like, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of
Fuck
like so that I could open up to someone like that. I'd have no problems with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it all depends. Like that's just one variable. Like the workout test is one variable. Like sparring with people, another totally different like. I really think that like even like one day like there's gonna be a point where you'd be doing episodes with like actual like fighters like not like amateurs or low level pros but like UFC fighters, right? And granted, like these guys would totally beat the shit if you're in a fight, right? We know that, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not anything that's a pretty basic assumption. But just by training with, like, I would still want to train with them, at least in jiu-jitsu, and roll with them for, like, a few rounds before I did an episode because you would just get a better you would naturally just develop a more comfortable, open relationship with those people as a result of doing an adverse, like, going through it. Yeah, they'll have more respect. They'll be more like, and when these people respect you, they open up more, and then you get a better episode and get more knowledge.
You're willing to take a beating and not be a little bitch about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I've become friends with Tim Kennedy because I used to train with him, and he used to whoop my ass, but I would push myself and not give up, and I gained his respect and his friendship because I'm not a fucking punk. You know, I'm not going to step down. Yeah, he might fucking mop the floor with me, but I keep getting back up and I keep trying, you know. I might not win ever, but
you'll never win. You will never win. That's the thing.
Gain a single advantage or any fucking good positions, but at least I keep trying. I don't fucking just give up because I'm tired. You know, you got to just keep getting back up, and people respect that you don't give up.
Exactly. It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think that resilience, literally, like resilience and basics. Everything everyone likes to make everything so complicated.
Than somebody who doesn't keep their word. You know, they tell you they're going to do something, and then you're like, fuck, I can't trust
I get so I get anxious about that. Dude, you want to know something?
Yeah.
I had this guy from Drinking Bros, Dan Holloway, on. He was my guest before you.
Yeah.
I was more nervous about showing up late than I was about the episode.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Like, I was scared to show up late, right, for someone like that.
Yeah.
When I did Golden Gloves in, like, New York, I was more scared of my trainer getting angry at me than I was about losing a fight.
Yeah, letting people down that you look up to.
Yeah.
You respect. Absolutely.
Like, that shit terrifies me. I get terrified even going to the council, like, or doing any of this stuff. I don't get scared about confronting these people. I get, like, scared. I'm like, oh, man, people really like my stuff now.
Yeah.
People like really like want me to do shows, want me to do this stuff. Like I get more scared about being unprepared for an event than I ever would being in a hostile situation.
Yeah.
Like that gives me way more anxiety being unprepared for an event than like.
I can see that.
Yeah, it terrifies the fuck. Dude, it actually terrifies me. I think that like I know we got to wrap it up soon because I got to get ready for my next guest and you got things to do and whatnot. But I really appreciate that. I appreciate that we had like this great health discussion in which we didn't preach anything nutrition, in which you didn't do anything preachy about how you can optimize your health, right?
Yeah.
If that makes sense, without being preachy in any capacity.
And different things work for different people, and it's important to, not just listen to what everybody's saying, all the new trends.
They're so stupid.
Yeah, and everybody has a different, gut biome, and they might have a different cultural, genetic makeup, and so I think all those things make an influence on what works for you. So it's important to try different things and then see what really
people put way too much pressure on themselves to live this to have this aesthetic or this ideal of what they think they should be, and then when they fail they immediately just give up and become like the total worst. It's like being religious, right? Like I've started like going to like synagogue a little more, just getting more in touch with like my Judaism and whatnot, and like having a kosher diet. But it's like if I just were to all of a sudden out of nowhere, totally secular, non-religious at all of a sudden say, hey, guess what? Like I'm never going to shave my beard. I'm not going to touch a woman until I get married. I'm going to pray 3 times a day. I'm going to follow every single little ritual to its degree right off the bat. You know what would happen?
You'd fall off.
You'd fall off, get burnt out, and never do any of this whatsoever, right? And it's like, whereas like if I'm just saying, hey, I want to go be a UFC fighter, I'm going to go train 3 times a day and work out constant, like we'll just do conditioning 3 times a week and all this other stuff and just say all I want to do is be a pro fighter. Well, cool. Like maybe you do it for a couple weeks, but after that,
it's important to do something that's sustainable.
And
you slowly add once you build up the capacity to deal with
what you can do right now.
Yeah, then you can slowly start adding to it, and your work capacity grows, and then finding days where then you cut back as well. Like it's important to go hard, level up, and then cut back again. Let your body respond to that stimulus, and then kind of go back, not to the very bottom of where you started with, but maybe like a couple levels.
It's
of
like
where
a
you
chart
started.
on a stock. It's like the way a
Yeah.
stock moves on a chart. That's a
Yeah.
healthy level of growth, right? You're gonna
Exactly.
you'll hit a high, you'll drop a little bit,
Yeah.
you'll plateau. Yeah,
And then
that's how it is.
you might switch up the training plan completely to something totally new, so that that base you don't kind of get burnt out, and you stop, because you'll stop getting results. You'll stop leveling up as much if you keep doing the same routine over and over again. So once you switch up that routine, whether it's fitness, whether it's what you're reading, what you're digesting, it's important to then switch it up a little bit. Give your break from that same type of stimulus to let that to try something new that can help you make some more gains, and then you can go back to those old training routines and training plans, and you'll keep cycling through and continue to level up. I mean, over a certain amount of time, you'll stop getting as many results, but you'll be able to maintain a certain level of fitness that'll help you get through pretty much
Whatever you
anything
want to do. Yeah, absolutely. That's the most important thing. And people like me, like they hold themselves to this unrealistic aesthetic. And when you do that, you don't realize how easy it is to, like, being healthy and being like physically fit and in like decent normal person shape is actually one of the easiest things to do in life.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just eat normal food, right? Don't cook with seed oils. If you're a vegetarian, instead of using beef tallow, use coconut oil.
Yeah,
and people have
that's
forgot,
why I use coconut oil. I
I
even
use tallow.
moisturize with coconut oil.
I use tallow. I use
Yeah.
beef tallow.
Girls are like, why do you smell so good? I
Oh,
moisturize with
alright.
coconut oil.
Yeah, life hack. All right. Vanessa tells me I smell now.
Plus, it works as a great lubricant as well.
Interesting. Good to know. Good to know. Thank you for the life hack. On that note, how do we get a hold of you?
I'm at. You can find me at On a Gym in Austin, Texas. Eric Leija on Facebook. I'm Eric Leija on YouTube. Check me out on there. I just got 100,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Yeah, so check me
You
out.
got
on there.
97,300 more than me. Congratulations.
Just keep posting.
Wow.
Just keep
All
posting.
right.
And a Primal Swoldier on Instagram. All right, check me out. I'll be posting tons of fitness content. And especially on YouTube. Get ready. I'll be posting a lot more long form content on there coming up. Excited to keep sharing some valuable information, but check me out. Gonna just keep getting out there.
I'm just surprised that you actually put a shirt on for this episode. I'm so mind boggled by that. All right, dude. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
All
Let's
right.
do it again.
Absolutely. Okay. That was good. Now we got to get